And this is the second live test of this setup. So we're going to use part of the coffee hour, both showing you what we can do and experimenting.
Well, I appreciate it because, as you know, many of us are wrestling with the exact same issues and problems.
Yeah, and we think we've got a workable solution here for small to medium sized clubs. And we got some more things to try yet. This morning's main innovation is we've added a second camera guy. Alan Miller's here. And we've added a camera that looks permanently at the room. Okay, now there in gallery view, you can see all the people who are with us in Zoom. And it looks to me like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 5, 25 screens, but 2 of them are me, 3 of them are me, 2 of them are me, and 1 of them is the room. And facing off with you all, we got this fabulous bunch of chairs with 4 Lancaster Club members in the audience. And if we had 20, we would have 20 guys in those chairs. And you're seeing them through an iPhone that's phoning into the Zoom call. And we haven't quite got figured out where to put it or how to maneuver it, and it might be the wrong camera for this job. But the thought is that we got a bunch of people in a screen looking at you, and they are looking at a screen with all of you on it. Now, we're still learning how to do all this, so there's a little bit of roughness here. Doug is operating a Canon Vixia on a tripod, which the club owns, which was about $250. So yeah, everybody ought to be seeing the room here, which has got insulation in the walls but no sheetrock. There's our big TV reflected in window light on hold still, Doug, on a Skookum strong heavy cabinet that Barry made. What we did is we bought a 75-inch TV and a stand for it. We looked at the stand and said, you know, this is not going to work. It's going to fall over. So Barry built a monster heavy cabinet on wheels and then attached the stand to it. So you would now take 2 or 3 guys to tip this thing over. Okay, what else are you going to show? Now you're looking at down there is our small mini lathe in the far end of the room. And here's all the boxes of junk we haven't yet digested. And then there's all the chairs that the huge present crowd is sitting in today. Go all the way around. And then there's me sitting in the corner behind. For you guys in other clubs, one of the decisions we made that I think was a good one. A lot of guys are buying high-end gamer laptops to run Zoom setups and interactive remote demos. And that may be the right thing for an interactive remote demo. When we thought about it, we said, we don't want no laptop. We don't want it to walk around. And we found a used computer store here where we could get a fully loaded Lenovo from 2017 with an i7 chip, 2 terabytes of memory, 16 gigs of RAM, and well, I don't know, 8 or 9 USB ports. So we bought that for $300, and it is working very, very well. Yeah, there's the camera boom. Now, this is the plans that Rick Baker made for the AAW. And Doug built this back at the time when we were hosting the Mid-Atlantic Symposium. And several of these were made for the symposium, and he made one for the club. And what it allows is a camera to be positioned almost anywhere, including right overhead the workspace. As you can see him moving it around there. And it's quite a very cool setup. I mean, it's very clever the way these guys figured it out. The boom works really well. He can manipulate the camera from the end, working those levers. And he can see what it's seeing on a little screen that it plugs into, and then the video splits and comes over to the computer here. It also, one of the problems with this setup is if you want to change the zoom or telephoto on the camera that's out there in the boom, the remote control needs to see the infrared eye. So these guys figured out an optical cable that allows the remote that's down near their Doug's hand to send a message to that camera. So that's what all the cables are all about. But it works. It's a mighty piece of engineering, and it really works well. So I got to hand it to Rick Baker of the He's on the AAW board, and he's, I guess, with Bucks County.
Well, with the camera and everything else, when we originally put it together, I think the total cost, camera included, was about $700. So if you have screens and cameras or whatever, most of the metal and is fairly inexpensive. So it doesn't. You can put it together with a tripod fairly easily, and it's a good. It really balances and stays well. So
that's a pretty mighty tripod it's on. The camera that's out there is an earlier model of the Canon Vixia. We have found that the Canon Vixias work very well for this purpose. They get into the USB port by way of a video capture card, which we bought $40 ones. You can get them anywhere from 20 to 100. You want one with low latency that's suitable for gamers. And it allows you to plug the DMI output from the camera into it, and out of it comes USB that the computer can receive. The two Canon Vixias, one on a tripod and one on the boom, are our main cameras. So now back to gallery view. Since we're talking about that, any questions or comments about the setup?
So what camera are you panning around to look at the room with?
That's the second Canon Vixia on a tripod being operated by Alan Miller.
Okay.
And it's right over here, also just a couple of feet to my left.
Is that another camera on that screen that Barry made there that we're looking at?
Yes, that's an old iPhone that's looking at the room, and that's what produces the picture of the room.
That Canon Vixia seems to be the most popular camera I've seen at clubs. I mean, most of the clubs in Atlanta use one, and I use them for my video production. And it seems like you go back 4, 5, 6 generations of it, and the software operating system seems virtually identical with every upgrade.
That's right. And the big advantage of them is it puts out what you might call clean HDMI. There's no no tech messages on the screen about f-stops and speeds and FPS and all that stuff, which you can have on these cameras. And then when you're looking at the camera, it's all there. But what it puts out to the computer, there's a setting you can find that erases all that. So you get a clean picture. That's the real advantage of them. But also what we're planning to do when someone in the room wants to speak is the Vixia on the tripod. That's Alan. Now Alan can zoom in, for example, on Barry back there in the room, and Barry can fill the screen and talk. He's wearing a microphone because he's going to demo something. But if he wasn't, he would be holding his hand up to ask for the talking stick. So now we got symmetry in the room. If you're out there in Zoom land and you want to talk, use raise hand and I'll see you. As Kai has raised hand, and I'll get to him in a minute. And if you're in the room and you want to talk, you raise your hand and you get the talking stick. So now everybody is treated more or less equally. Now that's Alan. That's the camera on the tripod that Alan has. That's the overhead camera that's on the boom. And that's the webcam that's taped to the top of the computer, which I'm not actually meaning to be using much today, but there it is. And I've got control of the talking stick right now. So it's a wheel, and Alt-N steps around them in Zoom. And if those of you who are experimenting with Zoom, you can find out more of that if you go to share screen, and then there's a tab that says advanced. And when you go to advanced, it shows you the Alt-N, and it gives you the option of changing cameras there. The other way to do it is down by the video, where on the lower left where the video picture is, the stop video icon. And if you pull the caret up, it will show all of the cameras, and I can click from one camera to the next by simply doing on that caret. And that's the way that I can jump from one to the other without going around the wheel.
This boomstick, is that via cable, or does that use infrared transmission or anything else?
The microphone on the talking stick?
On the talking stick, yes, sorry.
Yeah, the microphones that we bought, a 2-microphone Movo system for $170. And it operates on 2.4 gigahertz, and it has a receiver and 2 remote mics. So we decided, okay, one remote mic is for the speaker of the day, and the other is on a talking stick to be passed around the room. And I've got the talking stick right now, and Barry has the mic clipped onto his shirt collar.
Mhm.
We
Okay,
also
yeah,
found that since they're lapel mics, you don't have to hold it in front of your mouth and spit into it. You can hold it beside your collar, and it picks up the sound just fine.
Yeah,
No.
sounds good.
Now I'm seeing, I don't know if you are, I'm seeing the two guys who has raised hand, and I'm seeing myself with the talking stick. This is the mobile units look like this. They're these little boxes, and the one that's the receiver plugs into the external mic port on the PC, and I just leave it set there. And we found that I can stand right next to the other mic, and they don't interfere with each other.
Okay.
So there are systems that have more mics, and we might wish we'd bought one, but we were still figuring this out at the time. We also think, we haven't tried this yet, that we can run an external speaker in the room so the guys in the room can be amplified without causing a screech. But I'm not sure if that's true. We haven't tried anything there yet. The other thing we learned about this setup, or that we have, we're very lucky in, we have a network cable. So we're on Ethernet on the computer. That has eliminated a lot of problems versus Wi-Fi. If we were on Wi-Fi, we would have a lot of latency with more than one camera involved. There's an awful lot of new equipment out in the market to address these kinds of problems, and I've been trying to learn my way through it. The Movo system is one. That's the one I spent the most time learning. Our Rode is another, RODE. There's a lot of equipment with that brand on it. And those guys seem to have speakers and all sorts of things for remote conferencing. It all came alive during during COVID all last year. So I agree with you, Jim. I think we'll probably graduate to a bigger, better system. But right now we're going to use this one.
Hey, by the way, the sound quality is quite fine in my book. I mean, what I'm hearing in my headphones is very fine sound quality.
Anybody have any issues with the sound they're hearing?
No.
I suspect any issues are going to be at the other end with the speakers in your computer.
John, you could shave while you're holding that mic because you have a scraper there. You could just shave while you're holding it.
Well, that's the reason I didn't put it on a skew chisel. I figured that there was a pretty good chance that somebody's going to jam it up their nose without thinking. So it's on a blunt scraper. Any other questions or comments that anybody wants to make? And go for it, because I'm very interested in testing all this stuff out. So, and the more practice we get switching around, the better off we're all going to be.
So, John,
I can see 25 people on the screen at one time. How can I increase that?
Who's asking that?
That's Gerald.
Yeah, you have to go into your Zoom software, and you can increase it to 49.
You click on the up arrow by where it says stop video and select your video settings, and then scroll down and you'll see a choice of, I think, 24 and 49 that you can click on, and that'll change your screen to hold 49 people on one screen.
Any other questions or comments? I must say I'm quite happy with this system so far. I mean, it has its bugs and its glitches and its learning curve, but we got done here for, if we were starting from scratch, we would have spent $3 grand. We weren't starting from scratch, so we spent about 2,500.